you expect God to enact justice and to do so speedily? I'm asking because the scriptures are challenging me on this. In the parable of the persistent widow, Luke 18:1-8, a vulnerable and marginalized person asks the leader of the community, who's not so great, to execute justice. And this means clearing their name and reputation and punishing their wrongdoers. In this parable, Jesus declares that this vulnerable and marginalized person is one of God's chosen and makes them the hero of the story. In Luke 15, which is about the prodigal son isn't painted quite in the same way, at least not to me. The son is kind of irresponsible and squanders what he has. He then grovels his way back home to his dad, where his dad celebrates the return by throwing this lavish party. When the older brother hears of this, he gets angry, and understandably so, because in all this time, the older brother has been loyal and has stuck by his father's side. So, if we look at both of these stories from a different angle, let's contrast the persistent widow and the prodigal son against the community leader and the steadfast older brother. Here we see God's chosen distinguish themselves by appealing to the mercy and to the might of the powerful. The Greek verb used here is erkomai, which means to come or to approach. And that's what these two did, which distinguished them. But that's kind of it. And this exasperated the older brother because he noticed this. He saw that it required so little of his brother to get this extravagant party. So now if we go back to Luke 18:8, this is at the end of the persistent widow parable, we hear Jesus say, "Listen up, people. God will not delay when it comes to justice. However, will the Son of Man find people who actually believe this and act accordingly? Will there be people so confident that God will make right what is wrong that they approach God over and over again with their requests?" And this is where I just have a harder time. I'm not quite sure. So life and headlines, they look nothing like Luke 18:8, not to me. Over and over again, I see that the vulnerable and the marginalized are disposable. They're treated like they're disposable, while the rich get richer and the powerful get more powerful. I see that, sure, some good things happen, but many more bad things happen. I know that God is good. I do. I know that God is good, and I know that God is powerful, but I don't see that power wielded nor wielded swiftly in quite the ways that I'd expect, so I just have a harder time. It seems like about all I can do is kind of keep my head down and follow God as best as I can. But that seems to make me more like the community leader, and especially like that older brother. The older brother was always by his father's side and didn't seem to really request anything from his father, at least nothing meaningful or nothing that the older brother truly desired. And this is unlike the prodigal son and the persistent widow, who had deep desires and took action. They approached the powerful with their requests, and in so doing, God used them to rock boats and to flip scripts. So perhaps that's my takeaway, because neither the persistent widow nor the prodigal son knew that their requests would be granted, but they tried anyway. So, do you expect God to enact justice and to do so speedily? I'm asking because the scriptures are challenging me on this.